This is my Claude account, and I'm actually going to walk you through in this masterclass how you can actually use this tool to run your business or agency, from finding clients to onboarding them to creating content to delivering work, all right here inside this one LLM tool. And by the end of this masterclass, whether you have never opened Claude before, if you've been using it like a basic chatbot, like you used to use ChatGPT, you're actually going to see exactly how you can use Claude to do almost every single thing for your business or agency. We're going to be building live from projects, prompting, skills, artifacts, everything live right in my account right now. So let's get right into it. Now, before we dive into the actual masterclass, it's important for you to understand the difference between Claude and ChatGPT and why we're actually focusing on Claude in this particular masterclass. Because I actually get this question constantly in my Instagram videos. Should I use ChatGPT or Claude for business purposes, running an agency, as a fellow beginner, as a student, as a professional? And here's my answer. I honestly use both depending on what I want to do each day or for which particular task. So let me break it down in simple terms. Claude has usage limits and token usage, which I'm going to talk about briefly in the next few minutes. So I would honestly just keep Claude for complex reasoning, building systems, understanding workflows. And I use ChatGPT for like replying to emails, like replying to sales conversations, because it doesn't have any token usage or usage limits. So ChatGPT is more so for day-to-day tasks, and Claude is more so for complex thinking and acting as my very own operational assistant. So that's the most simplest way I can put it. I did, however, switch completely to Claude as my LLM model and my assistant. And ChatGPT is currently on the free plan because I just do not feel the need to pay for ChatGPT subscription, because Claude can do way more than what ChatGPT can for my specific use cases. Now, four reasons why I'm actually a pro Claude user, just in my opinion. First, the writing quality. Claude does produce the most natural human sounding output for any AI model out there right now. It doesn't just sound like a robot wrote it, and that matches when you're writing for clients or for yourself, for your business. And I'm going to show you later in this video how you can actually use the writing style feature to customize a Claude to write in your specific tone, for content, for emails, for Instagram DMs, for whatever purposes. You can actually train Claude to write in your particular style, which is actually a very awesome feature for Claude. Second, projects and skills. Now, Claude has a system for building persistent AI workflows that no other tool has matched. You don't just chat with Claude like Google or ChatGPT. You actually can build systems inside it, and I'll show you exactly what I mean about this in about 10 minutes. So these are projects which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, and skills which are pretty much the GPTs of Claude. Third, it's honest. Claude will actually push back on bad ideas. It'll tell you exactly when something doesn't make sense. Most AI models just agree with everything you say, but Claude actually thinks, and it will actually criticize your work and not just flatter you for what you want to hear. So is it perfect? Of course not. Like any other LLM model, it does have its limitations. It can't create images like GPT and Gemini could, and it does, as I mentioned, work on token usage limits. So, which is why I highly recommend just using Claude for complex reasoning and for complex tasks, because you are just going to be burning through usage limits if you're on the pro plan for emails and Instagram DMs and day-to-day tasks and googling things. So I keep those things for GPT. But for building a business, creating content, onboarding clients, and automating your thinking, understanding workflows and systems, it's honestly the best LLM model I have found. And in this video, I'm actually going to show you everything you can do with Claude, taking you from beginner to a pro expert. Now, before we jump into the actual interface and how to actually use Claude in this particular video, I want to highlight the different plans that Claude actually has. And we have the free plan, pro plan, and the max plan. I'm currently on the pro plan and I'm in Canada, so I'm paying about $24 Canadian per month. And I highly recommend, if you are a professional business owner, agency owner, or using LLMs for business purposes, I highly recommend being on the pro plan for any LLM model that you're using, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. I'm using Claude for all my tasks for building systems, so I use the pro plan. If you're pretty much a student or using it as a hobby, I recommend not paying for any subscription. Just use ChatGPT's free plan or Claude's free plan. But I highly recommend switching to the pro model to get the best features and the best use cases for any LLM model that you're using. I do know that Claude did make a news about removing the Claude code function from the pro plan for some of its users, and quite a few of its users are actually quite disappointed about it. So I would highly recommend, if you're planning to switch from GPT to Claude, make the switch right now before that actually gets implemented, so you can actually get Cowork and Claude Code specifically in your plan as well. All right, so Claude 101. So when you log into Claude, this is the very first interface you're actually going to see. As with every other basic LLM model, you should have a prompting chat area where you're actually going to command or task Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini to do a certain task for you. To the left sidebar over here, we have the chat history with all your different chats in the past. To the above left section of the chat history, you have the future section where you can see projects, code, customized design. We're actually going to talk about projects later on in this video. Now, this is the browser interface. If you are a beginner, I recommend the desktop app because you can toggle between chat, Cowork, and Cloud Code much easily. Over here to the right, we have the model section, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. So with models, you have got Opus, Sonnet, and Haiku. Think of it like this: Sonnet is basically for everyday work task. It's fast, powerful. 95% of what you'll do with Claude will require Sonnet on a day-to-day basis. Opus is your deep thinker. Use it when you're actually building something like a system or workflow, something complex. And Opus does burn through most of your usage and token limits. By the way, Haiku, I don't know anybody who uses Haiku. It is faster, but I barely use it, and I doubt anybody actually uses Haiku. If you want to use Sonnet, you can actually always turn on the adaptive thinking function to get more complex reasoning output out of Sonnet and Claude. So my default is always Sonnet for most of my videos and tasks. Now, when you actually click this plus icon at the bottom, this is where you can actually attach files, PDFs, spreadsheets, images, documents. Claude reads all of it. I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like in action later on in this video. You can also see that we have the skill tab over here, which we're going to talk about. Connectors is something very brief. Claude has the ability to connect between a wide array of tools, and you can actually produce outputs within those tools itself from N10, Figma, Canva, Google Calendar, Google Drive. And you also have the advanced research function to analyze the web, and you're actually like drafting like a huge psychological report paper for schoolwork perhaps. And you can also like use the custom style function to write in your specific style, which is very handful for agency work, copywriting, for instance. And I'm going to talk about it a bit more later. How to prompt in Claude. Okay, before we get into the advanced features of Claude, like talking about artifacts, projects, and skills, you need to know how to prompt properly because even the best tools give garbage output if you give them garbage input. You probably heard the saying all over the AI space right now: garbage in is equal to garbage out. And I want to share something directly from Anthropic itself, the company that built Claude. Now, this is the official guidance on how to write a good prompt, not a YouTube guru framework, not something actually made up out of thin air, straight from the source itself. All interactions with Claude design with a prompt, and these prompts combined with other contexts impact Claude's response. The best approach when speaking to Claude, and actually like this, is like you should talk to it like you're talking to a coworker, naturally, concisely, and conversationally. So before you type anything, consider these three factors and these three things. First, set the stage. So what is your role and what are your objectives? Is there context about your work that Claude should know about? Now, this is the background briefing. You're not just asking it a question, you're actually giving Claude a reason to care about your specific situation. As you can see from this example right over here, I told it I run an AI automation agency called Elwell Automations. We build lead generation systems, AI content tools, and AI cold calling agents for real estate agencies in the USA. I'm trying to land my first client this week. Now, number two, defining the task. What actions do you want Claude to take? Do you want Claude to write something specific, analyze something, build something, or do something else entirely? Be specific about the verb. Saying help me is actually quite vague, but actually saying write me a cold DM script is actually giving it a task to perform. Let's look at the example. So I'm building off from the earlier prompt where I set the stage of running and of telling prompt that I run an AI automation agency. I told it write me 5 cold DM scripts I can send to local dental clinics about our AI patient follow-up systems. So that's actually giving it a specific task. Now I'm going to actually tell it to specify rules. What's the style or tone you want Claude to use? Are there examples you can attach to show Claude what you're looking for? Rules kill generic responses. The more specific the constraint and the regulations, the more specific the output. So again, I'm building off on my prompt. I gave it context. I told it the task, and now I told it the specific rules and guidelines. Keep each TM under 60 seconds. Sorry, under 60 words. Tone should be direct and confident, not salesy. Lead with the problem they have, not a feature we offer, and no emojis in the message. Let's look at an example of a bad prompt. A bad prompt is you just telling Claude, like, how do I get clients for my agency? Again, this links back to what I said earlier about ChatGPT versus Claude. You can literally Google this or use ChatGPT if you want to write like this. Do not waste your tokens if you're writing like this. Prompt it like this by setting the stage, defining the task, formatting the rule, behavior, adding a behavioral condition, and adding a tone and audience rule. This is a good prompt structure. Now, again, this came directly from Anthropic itself, and I use it every single time when I'm prompting. One thing that I'm actually going to share, which is not from Anthropic, but I actually learned it from one of my mentors. Claude will interview you if you actually post this particular prompt under the prompt itself. Act as a prompt engineer, review the prompt, optimize it, ask me clarifying questions until you're 95% confident you can completely deliver on the task that I told you to perform. So Claude will interview you, it will ask you exactly what it needs to know, you answer, and the next output is dramatically better. I use this constantly, so always add this after your prompt. Okay, now that we talked about prompting in Claude, I want you to not skip these two things as a beginner who just got into Claude from ChatGPT or Gemini. Number one is memory. Now, memory is pretty much where Claude can remember things about you across conversations. It knows I run an agency, for instance, it knows my tone, it knows what tools I use. So when I start a new conversation, I don't have to re explain who I am. Number two is custom styles. Now, this one is actually incredible for agency work. Claude has a writing style by default, as you can see from the image over here, learning, concise, explanatory, formal. But you can actually create your own writing style, as you can see on the screen, where you can click the plus icon, go under use style, and then you can create and edit your own style. And this is pretty much based on your own writing samples. You can paste in a few paragraphs you've written, a few emails, a few posts, and Claude extracts the patterns, your sentence length, your vocabulary, your tone, the way you structure ideas. From that point onwards, when you're in a conversation using that style, Claude writes like you. All right, next we're going to talk about artifacts, which is something very cool in Claude. So, an artifact is when Claude generates a real standalone output. As you can see from the image above, I literally prompted Claude to give me a document on a cold calling full structural guide for my specific niche, which is the roofing industry, which is a niche that my student is targeting. And I told it to craft a cold calling offer and structure around the offer that my student has and created. It already pulled out a full document based on my instructions, and I'm actually going to pull it up so I can show you what it actually does and what it did. So an artifact is when Claude generates real standard output, not just text in the chat like ChatGPT, but an actual document, dashboard, or an interactive piece that opens in a dedicated panel right here on the right side. So let's go to the document. So this is one of the chats that I had created with my student. I told Claude that my student is targeting the roofing industry, and he's going to start cold calling. This is his offer, which is a follow up CRM AI system for recurring cold leads for the roofing industry. I gave it some instructions of cold calling, openers, objection handling, and then it literally asked me some few clarifying questions, and then it gave me a document. So this is an artifact, and it literally like did an amazing job designing the document. So I just shared this with my student, and he's literally using this exact guide to cold call the roofing industries right now. So it has the openers, it has the specific offer right over here, and the question to ask, the objection, as you can see, and the close as well. And also if it goes into voicemail right over here. So that's pretty much an artifact. You can iterate it on it without losing it. You can download it. You can even share it. So now if I had a problem with the particular like offer, I can just write to it over here, like, change X, Y, and Z if I wanted it to as well. So an artifact works for reports like this one, spreadsheets, interactive dashboards, landing page, HTML, flowcharts, presentations, you name it. If it's a standalone deliverable, you can ask Claude to make it as an artifact. And here's a trick if you don't already know this. If Claude doesn't automatically create an artifact, whether when you expect one, like it just replies like ChatGPT would, just add at the end of your prompt, output this as an artifact to your prompt, and it's very simple. Now, one thing that I actually want you to know with artifact is I want to go deeper into this. So this is actually going to connect the memory function which we talked about, the prompting feature which we talked about, and the artifact feature which we just talked about right now. So as you can see, I'm running a YouTube channel which is called Aviation Minutes, which is a totally other thing called YouTube Automation. I gave it my YouTube channel link. I told it that I gave it context. I prompted it with a task, and I also gave it that bonus step which I shared with you. Act as the prompt engineer, review the prompt, optimize it, ask me clarifying questions. So then Claude goes ahead and asks me a lot of questions to make sure it's 100% confident before producing the output. And one thing it actually did, which is pretty unique to Claude, is that it generated a full flowchart over here on how I can actually grow my channel to start monetizing with my faceless YouTube channel. So I can actually toggle amongst all these buttons and actually expand on these particular topics. Now, one thing that also it did is one thing that I mentioned before is I told you that Claude can actually take instructions, text, PDF documents. So I actually gave it a bunch of title instructions on how to craft the perfect title, as you can see over here in the sidebar. So these are all the artifacts that I created and the content that I actually produced. Just going to close that. I told it to act like a content YouTube researcher, generate 20 high potential video ideas for the aviation niche based on search demand, trending topics, and audience pain points. Title instructions, see the attachment. So then it actually goes ahead and generate, pulls up from the live web. I did the research and studied like the top performing video ideas in the aviation space, and it gave me like this whole list of information between shorts, long form, highest viral potential, career and student pilot to the target audience, and I also drafted titles based on the instruction that I produced based on the document that I gave it. Now, additionally, I also gave it a bunch of scripts from one of the other creators in the space that I wanted to model, and I told it to act like a professional YouTube scriptwriter, analyze the scripts attached above from the niche of this particular channel, write a complete script on idea number one, study the script of the channel, transcript attached here, and apply it for my niche and topic. By the way, do not mock my typing skills. I hate typing, so that's all the errors which you see on the screen. Now, it pretty much asked me clarifying questions, did all the processing, and then it generated a full script based on the style that I actually wanted. So this is what I mean by combining your own prompts, memory, and artifacts into one single conversation. And then, of course, then I gave it a bunch of thumbnails of the other creator, and I told it to analyze them and give me like thumbnails as well, like thumbnail inspiration. So that's pretty much an artifact. In a nutshell, it's pretty much like you prompting and then getting an output in Claude itself in different formats and layouts that you require. All right, now that we covered artifacts, we are going to actually talk about the coolest feature in Claude, which is called projects. I'm actually going to build a project live in this particular masterclass. So this is where everything changes with Claude. Everything I've shown you so far, from memory to artifacts to prompting, that's all happening inside a single conversation, a single chat. You get the output and then it's all over. Now, projects actually fixes that. A project is a persistent workspace inside Claude. It has its own custom instructions. It has its own knowledge base, its own conversation history. Everything inside a project is connected, and every chat inherits same contacts automatically. Now, I want you to understand the difference between a memory and a project. Think of it this way. Memory tells Claude who you are, so LVL Automation's AI agency. Project tells Claude what you're working on at that particular moment and how to behave in that specific context. So as you can see, I have projects for my clients, for my software, for my content creation, and I have projects set up for every major workflow in my agency. And in this particular tutorial, I'm actually going to build a live project for my agency. It's called the Client Onboarding Hub. So let's get right into it. All right, now we're going to go ahead and build a live project inside Claude. So as I said, you have to go into the left sidebar over here, click on projects, and just click new project right over here. Now, in our example, we are going to build a client onboarding hub. Now, what are you trying to achieve? This is completely optional. You don't really have to put anything over there, but just for simplicity purposes, I'm actually going to put in what it actually does. So let's go right over here. So it holds our agency's SOW template. SOW means statement of work, service descriptions, communication tone, and client-specific context. Every conversation inside this project automatically knows who the client is, what we have agreed, and how we communicate further. I'm going to go ahead and create the project. I'm actually going to add a set of instructions, and the instruction that I'm going to add is actually coming directly from Claude itself. So before this video, I actually went ahead and told Claude exactly what I'm looking for. So we are an AI assistant. You're an AI assistant for LBL Automation. So what's your role? Who's it for? AI automation agency run by the Lobo brothers. The agency context, we build an AI automation system. So businesses including lead generation scrapers, AI clone systems, AI cold calling agents, so voice receptionists. Our clients are typically business owners, entrepreneurs, and agency owners looking to automate their operations. And we charge anywhere from $1,500 to $6,000, and recurring retainers from $800 to $2,000 a month. Communication style, your role in this project is to help onboard new clients by analyzing their SOWs and extracting key deliverables. Always refer to the agency as LVL Automations or we, never the company. So some restrictions. So pretty much following the permanent structure we talked about earlier. And now I'm going to go ahead and save these instructions. Now I'm going to add a bunch of files, actually just one file, which is the SOW template. So now we have the instructions, we have a project build, and we have a file, which is our SOW instructions. So the file is our standard SOW template. So now Claude knows our exact scope of work, our work structure, our standard deliverables, our payment terms permanently inside this project. So every conversation I ever have in here has access to this document. I never have uploaded again. Now, what would happen when I drop in a new client brief? So let's take an example client brief right over here. So new client brief, Miami Smiles Dental, Dr. Anna Ruiz. They want to automate their patient follow-up and appointment booking. Currently doing everything manually via phone. Budget is $4,500 for the bill. Open to $1,200 per month retainer for management. Timeline is roughly 3 weeks. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to type in the prompt. So analyze this client brief, extract the key deliverables we should be scoping, identify any risk, and draft a personal, professional email to send to Dr. Rui confirming we are moving forward. So let's go ahead and do this right now. All right, click head using Sonnet 4.6 as the model. All right, so you can see Claude went ahead and reviewed the document, reviewed our SOWs, and actually drafted a response and output that actually matches the instructions given to it in the project section. So the recommended scope of work, the risk and gaps to flag, and now here's a personal email that you can send to Dr. Rui, which is our fake client in this particular scenario. And since I already have the connector of Gmail linked to Claude, I can just send it directly via Gmail upon confirmation. Few additional recommendations before you draft the SOW, pricing suggestions, HIPAA compliance, and then yeah, so pretty much I did exactly what I wanted to do right inside the project section. Let's go ahead and talk about skills and see how projects and skills can actually work hand in hand together. All right, so now that we talked about projects, the next super cool feature of Claude is skills, and skills are pretty much the GPTs of Claude. So here's the main difference, and this is the important thing I'll say about these two features before we actually go ahead and build a skill live. Projects remember things, skills know how to do things. So these are a bunch of skills, as you can see, that we already have inside our Claude. And I'm actually going to build one live here on the tutorial with you so you can see how projects and skill actually work hand in hand together. So project knows the knowledge, who the client is, what we agree to, how we communicate, as you saw from the live demo of Client Onboarding Hub. The skill holds the process, so the step-by-step logic for completing a specific repeatable task. Together, they are unstoppable. So the skill that I'm building right now in this masterclass is a weekly client report generator. Every week, I have rough notes of what we build, what worked, what broke, what's coming up next. So the skill turns those raw notes into a polished professional report every time automatically. So let's go ahead and create a skill inside Claude. Okay, now as I said, we're going to build a weekly client report generator skill inside Claude. So this was our previous conversation about the project. All I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new chat, and I'm going to drop in a prompt to build a skill right inside Claude. So I want to create a custom skill for generating weekly client reports for my AI automation agency. Here's how my workflow works at the end of each week. So I pretty much described how my workflow works. And then at the end, I said, please interview me with any questions you need to build a skill properly based on our prompting guidelines that we talked about earlier in this video. And I'm going to click send. So now Claude is actually going to ask me some multiple choice questions to pick the best answers. So I'm actually going to do this with you live. Then we're going to actually generate the skill, going to add it to our skill folder. And then we're actually going to use the project which we just created and the skill to get an output from Claude. So let's see. All right, so I went ahead and answered all the questions that Claude asked me over here, as you can see, and I actually hit send. And then Claude went ahead and generated an artifact output for me, and all I have to do is just hit save skill. If I approved it, I actually read through it, actually approved it, the structure, the output, every single thing. So I just saved it into my skill document. So now I'm going to close this, and if you want to know exactly where the skill is, just go to settings, go to capabilities, go all the way down over here, go to customize, and I can see right over here my skill, weekly client report skill, voice and tone, key, report structure, every single thing, input handling, output roles, step-by-step processes, everything. So now I want to go ahead and actually test it out. So what I'm going to do is go into projects and see how the project client onboarding hub and the skill works hand in hand together. So let's go ahead and type in generate this week's I'm going to say generate this week's client report, and I'm going to give it an example. So let's see, raw notes from week one. Actually, if I do this, client report, generate this week's client report, client goals, book call. We hit a 3 trending right directions. Let's go ahead and hit send. So this is the magic that's happening right now on the screen. I don't have to trigger this manually when I'm inside my client onboarding hub project, and I just say generate this with client report. Claude knows exactly to invoke the skill automatically. Or you can just hit slash client report to invoke the skill. So it's actually doing all its work right now. All right, there you have it. A very clean, professional, structured, client ready document ready to go. It's about 20 seconds that it took me because the skill was already ready, the project was already ready, and this is something that would normally take me manually 20 to 30 minutes to create, or at least a 1 hour. But here it just drafted every single thing for me exactly how I wanted it. Now you can just save this into documents directly. It can go directly into Google Drive because I have the connector set up over here. But that's pretty much how you do connect a project and a skill together to create one single task and pretty much do it much faster for your agency or business. All right, let's recap what we learned in this Claude Masterclass. First, we learned about Anthropic's three-part prompting framework where we set the stage, define the task, specify the rules, give it some behavioral context so every output is specific, useful, and actually applies to your situation. Number two, we talked about memory and custom style. So Claude always knows who you are and writes in your exact voice and tone. Third, we talked about artifacts. So Claude stops giving you walls of text and starts giving you real deliverables you can use and download, as you can see from this particular example. Give it the right prompt and it can generate a document in your brand, tone, voice, and style. Number four, projects, persistent workspaces that holds your context, your files, and your knowledge base forever, as we talked about the client onboarding hub. Skills, preset processes that Claude invokes automatically to complete specific tasks the right way every single time, as you can see from the skill that we just created. And most importantly, you saw how projects and skills work together as a system, not just like a chatbot and ChatGPT, but a full business system hand in hand. Now, action step, if you are done watching this video and you learned something valuable, make sure to hit a like. And I want you to go ahead and set up one project, pick one workflow in your life or your business that you keep repeating on a regular basis, build the project around it, then you can build one skill inside it. That's it, just one, and you will immediately see how different Claude feels when it's actually set up the right way. Drop your project and skill inside a Discord community below and let's review it together. Full disclaimer now, since you made it to the end of this video, everything in this video is completely free. I didn't hold anything back because that's what the LVL channel is all about. We are giving away everything on this channel, every system, every workflow, every strategy, every review on our tools for free with no cost, no paid community, and just pure value. If that means something to you, please make sure to hit the subscribe. It takes us a long way because the next video is going to be just as valuable and I don't want you to miss it. And if you are running an agency making 10K per month already and you're ready to go from where you are right now to 20, 30K and even 50K per month with the right systems, right positioning, and the right support, the link is in the description below. We work directly with 10K per month agency owners to build the scaling systems. So make sure to apply only if your agency is making 10K per month for one-to-one personalized support. I'll see you guys in the next time's video. Cheers.